I grew up with my sister Amelia, who was always treated like a princess in our family. Whatever she wanted, my parents made sure she got it. Now she was getting married to Ryan, a successful businessman from a good family with a lavish ceremony planned for hundreds of guests. I brought my girlfriend Jessica to help with the wedding preparations, never expecting to discover something that would turn our whole family upside down. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had to make a tough choice between family loyalty and doing what is right. In our family of 5, I was always the middle child. My older brother moved across the country for work years ago, which left me dealing with Amelia, the baby of the family who got away with everything. From the time we were kids, my parents bent over backward to give her what she wanted. When she wanted ballet lessons, they drove her 40 miles each way 3 times a week. When she wanted a car for her 16th birthday, they bought her a brand new BMW while I worked summers to buy a used Honda. I do not resent her for it exactly, but I always knew where I stood in the family hierarchy. Maybe that is why I valued my relationship with Jessica so much. We had been together for 2 years, and I was already saving for a ring. Jessica was everything I admired in a person: hardworking, honest, and kind. She came from a modest background like me and understood the value of earning things through effort rather than having them handed to you. When Amelia announced her engagement to Ryan after just 8 months of dating, I was surprised but happy for her. Ryan seemed like a great guy, successful in real estate development, and from a well-respected family in our city. Their wedding plans quickly snowballed from what Amelia initially described as a small, intimate ceremony to an extravagant affair with over 300 guests, a reception at the most expensive venue in town, and a designer dress that cost more than my annual salary. My parents were footing most of the bill, of course. They dipped into their retirement savings without hesitation, something they reminded me they could not do when I needed help with college tuition a few years back. But I kept those thoughts to myself. This was about Amelia, after all. Jessica and I were staying at my parents' guest house for the 2 weeks leading up to the wedding to help with preparations. Jessica had immediately volunteered to assist with anything Amelia needed, which I appreciated. Initially, things seemed to be going well. Amelia and Jessica spent time together choosing floral arrangements and discussing seating charts. I was relieved they were getting along. But after a few days, I noticed Amelia making increasingly demanding requests of Jessica. It started with small things like asking Jessica to run across town to pick up special ribbon for the wedding favors, or requesting she remake dozens of place cards because the handwriting was not perfect. Jessica never complained to me, but I could see her growing uncomfortable. One night I found her in our room looking stressed. "Everything okay?" I asked. "It is fine," she said, forcing a smile. "Just tired from all the wedding stuff." The next day I noticed something odd. Amelia kept giving Jessica strange looks when she thought no one was watching. At first I dismissed it, but it happened multiple times. Once I walked into the kitchen to find them standing unusually close, and they jumped apart when they saw me. Things came to a head during the bridesmaid's dress fitting. Jessica was not officially a bridesmaid, but she came along to give her opinion. Amelia had insisted Jessica try on a dress just for fun. When Jessica emerged from the dressing room in a navy blue gown, she looked stunning. Amelia immediately snapped. "That is way too showy for a wedding guest. Everyone will be looking at you instead of me." The boutique fell silent. Jessica looked mortified. "I am not going to buy this, Amelia. I was just trying it on because you asked me to." "Well, make sure whatever you wear is appropriate," Amelia said coldly. "I know how you like attention." In the car on the way home, Jessica was quiet. When I brought up the incident, she downplayed it. "She is just stressed about the wedding," Jessica said, but I could tell she was hurt. I tried talking to my parents about Amelia's behavior, but they brushed it off. "Your sister has a lot on her plate right now," my mother said. "Jessica needs to understand that and be supportive." Their response was predictable but still disappointing. Once again, Amelia could do no wrong. With just a week to go before the wedding tensions were running high, Amelia had transformed from my occasionally spoiled sister into a full-blown bridezilla. She criticized everything from the shade of the napkins to the way the wedding coordinator spoke. Jessica bore the brunt of much of this to the point where she confided in me that she was considering skipping the wedding entirely. "I cannot do that to you," she said. "I know how important it is for you to have me there." I appreciated her loyalty more than she knew. "We will get through this together," I promised. Just one more week. 3 days before the wedding, I was at my parents' house late, working on a slideshow of childhood photos that would play during the reception. It was nearly 11 o'clock when I finished, and I texted Jessica to let her know I was heading back to the guest house. She did not respond, which was unusual, but I figured she might be asleep already. The guest house was about 100 yards behind my parents' main home, nestled among some oak trees. It was a warm night, and as I approached, I noticed the living room lights were on, and the window was partially open. I heard voices inside Jessica and Amelia. I was about to call out when I heard Amelia say my name, so I paused. He does not need to know, Amelia was saying. It would just hurt him. Something in her tone made me uneasy. I moved closer to the window, still out of sight. "This has to stop," Jessica responded, sounding distressed. "I love your brother. You are getting married in 3 days. Am I making the biggest mistake of my life?" Amelia asked, her voice suddenly vulnerable in a way I rarely heard. "Ryan is perfect on paper, but sometimes I wonder if what you and my brother have is the real thing." I stood frozen, trying to process what I was hearing. Then I heard movement, and curiosity got the better of me. I peered through the gap in the curtains, and what I saw felt like a physical blow. Amelia had her hands on Jessica's face and was kissing her. For a split second, my mind could not make sense of the image. Then I saw Jessica pushing Amelia away firmly, saying, "No, this is wrong." I must have made a sound because they both turned toward the window. I did not hide. Instead, I walked straight to the door and entered. The room went silent. Jessica looked horrified, her eyes wide and brimming with tears. Amelia looked like a deer in headlights before her expression shifted to something calculating. "Thank goodness you are here," Amelia said quickly. "Jessica has been coming on to me all week. I came to talk to her about it, and she just tried to kiss me." I looked at Jessica, whose face had drained of color. "That is not true," she whispered. "She has been making advances toward me for days. I have been trying to handle it without upsetting you." "Are you seriously going to believe her over your own sister?" Amelia demanded. The Amelia I knew had always been spoiled and self-centered, but this level of manipulation was new. I looked between them, my mind racing. "Show him the texts," Jessica said suddenly. "What texts?" I asked. Jessica pulled out her phone and handed it to me. There, in black and white, was a series of increasingly flirtatious messages from Amelia over the past week. The most recent, sent just an hour ago, asked Jessica to meet her at the guest house alone. I turned to my sister, who had collapsed onto the couch, her defiant facade crumbling. She burst into tears. "I do not know what I am doing," she sobbed. "I am so confused. Everyone is so excited about this wedding, and Ryan is perfect, but I keep wondering if I am making a mistake. Then I see how you two are together, and it is so real, and I got jealous." "So you decided to try to steal my girlfriend?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger and disbelief. "I do not know. Maybe I wanted to see if I could. Maybe I wanted to sabotage everything because I am too cowardly to call it off myself." Her makeup was running down her face. "Please do not tell Ryan. Please, I will figure this out." I felt sick to my stomach. I looked at Jessica, who seemed equally shaken. "Did anything happen before tonight?" "No," she said firmly. "She has been making comments and finding excuses to touch me, but I kept making excuses for her behavior. I should have told you sooner." I believed her. Jessica had always been honest with me, even when the truth was uncomfortable. Amelia, on the other hand, had a history of twisting situations to her advantage. "You need to tell Ryan," I told Amelia. "He deserves to know the truth before the wedding." "I cannot," she wailed. "It will destroy everything. Mom and Dad have spent a fortune. Everyone is coming. The Thompsons would be humiliated." "Then, what was your plan? To keep acting out until someone else solved the problem for you? To cheat on Ryan after you are married?" Amelia had no answer, just more tears. I felt a lifetime of pent-up frustration boiling over. always the responsible one, always cleaning up Amelia's messes while she faced no consequences. "If you will not tell him, I will," I said firmly. Amelia ran from the guest house back to our parents' home. I knew exactly what would happen next, and I was right. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up with calls from both parents. When I finally answered, they were already taking Amelia's side. "She is just nervous about the wedding," my mother insisted. "Everyone gets cold feet. You should not blow this out of proportion." "She tried to kiss Jessica," I repeated, for what felt like the 10th time. "How is that not a problem?" "Jessica is a lovely girl," my father said carefully, "but perhaps it would be better if she did not attend the wedding, to avoid any drama." And there it was, the familiar pattern. Protect Amelia at all costs, even if it meant Jessica becoming the scapegoat. Something inside me snapped. "No," I said firmly. "Jessica did nothing wrong. She will be at the wedding as my guest, or I will not be there either. And Ryan deserves to know what kind of person he is marrying." I hung up before they could respond and spent the night comforting Jessica, who was understandably shaken by the whole ordeal. The next morning I called Ryan and asked to meet him for coffee. The coffee shop was quiet that morning. Ryan arrived looking relaxed in jeans and a polo shirt, completely unaware that I was about to change his life. We exchanged pleasantries, but I could not maintain small talk for long. "There is something you need to know before the wedding," I said, my stomach in knots. I explained what had happened as gently but honestly as I could. I showed him the text messages Jessica had received from Amelia. Throughout my explanation, Ryan remained surprisingly calm, his expression giving away little. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he simply said, "Thank you for telling me. I need some time to think about this." He left soon after, and I sat there wondering if I had done the right thing. Had I just destroyed my sister's future out of some misplaced sense of justice? Or was I finally standing up for what was right after years of enabling her behavior? I expected to hear from Ryan again, but days passed with no word. Meanwhile, wedding preparations continued as if nothing had happened. Amelia vacillated between tearful apologies to me and Jessica in private and acting like the excited bride in front of everyone else. My parents had decided to pretend the incident never occurred. "Ryan has not called off the wedding, so clearly he has forgiven her," my mother reasoned. "You need to let this go for the sake of family harmony." The morning of the wedding arrived with no resolution. Jessica and I debated whether we should even attend. "If we do not go, it will just create more drama," Jessica pointed out. "Maybe Ryan has forgiven her. Maybe they have worked things out privately." I was not convinced, but I agreed to attend for closure if nothing else. We arrived at the church early, keeping our distance from the wedding party. The sanctuary was decorated lavishly with white roses and cascading greenery. 300 seats were filled with guests in their finest attire, many of them Ryan's business associates and family friends. During the pre-wedding photos, Amelia avoided eye contact with me. She looked beautiful in her designer gown, but there was a tightness around her eyes that suggested she was not as happy as she should have been on her wedding day. My parents were busy playing the perfect host and hostess, though I caught my mother giving me warning glances whenever I was nearby, as if worried I might cause a scene. If only she knew what was coming. The ceremony began exactly on schedule. The string quartet played Pachelbel's canon as the bridesmaids processed down the aisle in their blush pink gowns. Then the traditional wedding march announced Amelia's entrance on our father's arm. She moved slowly toward Ryan, who stood at the altar looking handsome in his tuxedo, his face still unreadable. The minister welcomed everyone and began the ceremony. Everything proceeded normally until we reached the part where the minister asked, "If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." There was the customary pause, a moment of silence that normally passes without incident. But then Ryan cleared his throat. "Actually," he said, his voice steady and clear in the hushed church, "I have something to say." A collective gasp went through the congregation. Amelia's face drained of color. 3 days ago, Ryan continued addressing the guests directly. "I learned something disturbing about my fiancé. Her brother, out of integrity and concern, told me that Amelia had made romantic advances toward his girlfriend just days before our wedding." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My parents looked stricken. At first I did not want to believe it, Ryan said. I needed time to process, to investigate. Unfortunately, what I discovered was even worse than what I had been told. He turned to Amelia, whose hands were trembling visibly. This was not an isolated incident of cold feet as you claimed when I confronted you. After some discreet inquiries, I found evidence of your affairs with 2 other people during our engagement. One of them confirmed everything. The church was absolutely silent now. Amelia stood, frozen tears streaming down her face. I believe in forgiveness. Ryan continued, his voice softening slightly. But I also believe in honesty and fidelity. I cannot enter a marriage that began with lies. He turned back to the congregation. I apologize to all of you for the inconvenience and for this public display. But I felt everyone deserved to know the truth, especially my family who traveled so far to be here. There will not be a wedding today. He looked directly at me, then giving me a small nod of acknowledgement. Thank you, he said simply, for having the courage to tell me the truth when everyone else was willing to look the other way. With that, he walked down the aisle and out of the church, leaving stunned silence in his wake. What followed was chaos. Amelia collapsed into tears. My mother rushed to comfort her, while my father tried to address the bewildered guests. People were standing, whispering, some already making their way toward the exits. Jessica squeezed my hand. We should go, she whispered. We slipped out quietly amid the commotion. As we reached the church doors, my mother caught up with us, her face tight with anger. Are you happy now? She hissed. You have humiliated your sister in front of everyone we know. I did not do this, I replied calmly. Amelia made her choices. All I did was refuse to lie about them. You could have handled this privately within the family, my father added, appearing beside my mother, like we have handled everything else. By sweeping it under the rug and pretending Amelia can do no wrong, I shook my head. Not this time. Ryan deserved better. We all do. I took Jessica's hand and we walked away, leaving my parents to deal with the aftermath of the wedding that was not to be. The weeks following the wedding that never happened were some of the most difficult of my life. My parents refused to speak to me at first, directing all their energy toward helping Amelia manage her humiliation and heartbreak. They canceled the honeymoon trip and helped her return wedding gifts while crafting a sanitized explanation for what had happened. Amelia herself disappeared to a spa retreat in Arizona, which my parents paid for, of course. She needed time to heal, they explained to anyone who asked. In reality, she was hiding from the gossip and judgment that followed her very public rejection. Despite the tension with my family, my relationship with Jessica grew stronger. She had seen the worst of my family dynamics and stood by me anyway. Her loyalty throughout the ordeal proved what I had always believed about her character. I keep thinking I should have told you sooner about Amelia's behavior, she confessed one night. You tried to handle it without causing drama, I reassured her. That is not your fault. If anyone should have seen this coming, it was me. I have watched my family enable her behavior her entire life. About 6 months after the wedding disaster, I received a text from Ryan asking to meet. We chose a quiet bar across town, away from any potential family encounters. I wanted to thank you properly, he said after we had settled with our drinks. What you did took guts, especially knowing how your family might react. I'm just sorry you had to find out that way, I told him. The public reveal at the wedding was unexpected. Ryan smiled wryly. I did not plan it that way initially. But after I confirmed the other affairs, I realized there was a pattern that everyone around Amelia had been enabling for years. Sometimes public accountability is necessary for real change. He told me he was dating someone new, someone he had known casually for years through work. We are taking it slow, but she is honest to a fault. After Amelia, that is what I value most. As for my parents, the facade of family perfection they had maintained for so long had finally cracked. 3 months of strained phone calls and tense holiday gatherings eventually led to a breakthrough when my mother called asking if I would consider family therapy. We have been doing a lot of thinking, she admitted, her voice uncharacteristically humble. Your father and I may have made mistakes in how we raised Amelia. It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever received from her. The first therapy session was awkward and painful, with a lot of defensiveness from both my parents. But it was a start. The therapist helped us begin unpacking decades of family patterns that had led us to this point. Amelia eventually returned home more subdued than I had ever seen her. The public rejection had affected her deeply. During our third family therapy session, she finally took responsibility for her actions. I have always known I could get away with anything, she admitted. I never had to face consequences, so I never developed any self-control. I am not blaming you, she said to our parents, but I need to learn how to live differently. It was the first time I had ever heard her take ownership of her behavior without making excuses. It gave me hope that genuine change might be possible. As for Jessica and I, the ordeal had clarified what was truly important. 6 months after the non-wedding, I proposed to her during a weekend trip to the mountains. I used the ring I had been saving for smaller and less flashy than Amelia's had been, but chosen with care and bought with honest work. "Are you sure your family is ready for this?" Jessica asked after saying yes. "They will have to be," I replied. "But I think we have all learned some important lessons this year. Our engagement has been purposefully low-key. We are planning a small ceremony with close friends and family, focused on celebrating our commitment rather than impressing guests. My parents have been supportive, if somewhat subdued. Amelia has kept her distance but sent a thoughtful engagement gift with a handwritten note congratulating us. Looking back on everything that happened, I realize now that telling the truth, however painful, was the only path forward. By enabling Amelia's behavior all those years, my family had not been protecting her but setting her up for a bigger fall. Real love means holding each other accountable, not turning a blind eye to harmful actions. I also learned the importance of standing by your principles even when it costs you something. The temporary pain of confrontation is nothing compared to the long-term damage of living with lies. Truth really does set you free, though the process is rarely easy. Our family is healing slowly. We are learning new ways to relate to each other with more honesty and healthier boundaries. It is still a work in progress, but for the first time in my life, I feel hopeful about our future as a family. Have you ever had to tell a difficult truth that changed your family forever? Share your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life family tales. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones most worth having.